everybody. I'm Stacey J.
And I'm Chuck Duran.
Welcome to an awesome new episode of VO Buzz Weekly.
That's right. And today on the show, we have the fabulous Richard Horvitz, and it's going to be a great show.
It is.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to do right now. Our guest has been working on stage, on screen, and behind the mic for more than 3 decades. He is known and loved for his work in The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Skylanders, so many things, just to name a few. And he is a sought-after and respected teacher and coach. We are so excited to finally get buzzed with the fabulous Richard Horvitz.
Yes! Yes!
Are you buzzing?
I'm buzzing.
He's buzzing already.
Because I still use a pager. Do people use pagers anymore?
Dude, welcome to VO
Chuck.
Buzz Weekly.
Good to see you. Thanks
What a
for
treat,
being
man.
here.
What a
treat
treat.
is mine. The treat is mine.
It's so cool that you live in the area.
I do.
So you
I
decided,
could've walked
hey,
here.
what the heck? I'm just going to drive
I'm
by.
free tonight. Go
I
over.
did. And
Yeah, so this
I'm-
is a drive-by.
We
It's
just
a drive-by. Duck!
We just sit here and wait, and we're like, "Hey,
Who
do
can
you want to talk to us?"
You,
Yeah.
come on
Yeah.
in here.
And then the funny thing is that Richard came in and said, "Hey, you know what? I remember the last time I was here at your studio, Chuck." And I'm like, "When was that, man?" And he's like, do you remember how many years ago that was?
It has to be at least 5 or 6, maybe even more probably.
More than that.
7 or 8.
Yeah,
maybe,
probably more like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So we produced a demo together.
Yes, we did.
Like 7 or 8 years ago with
Yeah.
Crispin Freeman, who's
Crispin
freaking
Freeman.
insane now. Doing
Insane!
so great. Yeah, he's an awesome dude.
Insane
And
in
I
the
was like,
brain.
oh my God, you're right. That was so long ago, but it was so cool.
And I still got lost coming here.
Yeah,
and I
you
live
still got
down the
lost. What the
street.
heck is wrong with you,
know,
man?
I'm still
You're
actually
so pretty,
schwitzing.
Richard.
He's fitzing.
So pretty.
My goodness gracious.
Smart and pretty. That's what we like to
That's
put
what I do.
together.
Exactly.
They're not
So-
mutually exclusive.
Yeah,
They're
man.
not mutually exclusive. I, though, however, am mutually exclusive.
Yes.
So hold
True
back on those
story.
emails, kids,
Yeah.
especially the ladies.
Yeah.
That is funny,
Watch
man.
your hashtags, people.
Watch them; they can get you in trouble.
Right.
So let's get into it, man. You have an acting. Well, you've been acting since you were a little kid.
Since I was 10.
Since you were 10.
Yeah.
We want to hear about that. And then, how did you go from acting since you were a little kid? How did you transition into voiceover?
This is a great story.
Let's hear it.
It started way back. No, I'll just to cut to the chase. I was 10 years old and I started doing commercials, television commercials. I was born and raised here in the Valley in Los Angeles, California. So
Beautiful.
I was my brother is in the industry. My brother is a director. He directs the Oscars and the Emmys, and he just directed the Grammys.
Sweet.
And lots of those shows. So he was the only one that was really in the business. And when I was growing up, he was directing a show called Don Kirshner's Rock Concert.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to love that show.
And later went on to direct Solid Gold as well.
Solid gold.
So I used to hang around the scene a lot, and I
Yeah.
really wanted to do that. But my parents were like, no, I'm not going to be driving you to auditions everywhere and blah, blah, blah. But I was in a play that it was written, the play was written by this man named Floyd Huddleston, who wrote most of the music for the Aristocats for Disney. And he loved me in this play. He wrote these songs and I sang them. I started in musical theater. And he introduced me to his agent, and that's how I got into the business when I was about 10 years old.
Wow.
So at about 10 years old, I started doing a lot of television commercials like Freshen Up Bubble Gum. There's liquid inside this gum. That was my big line. I was also a hand model.
Nice hands, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
Very nice.
Now, I
Very
was
nicely manicured.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's
Yeah, one of the first things I told him when he got here is, "Hey man, you smell good."
Yeah,
Thank you.
you
Showers,
do.
Thank you.
got
Your
clean
grooming
hands.
is impeccable. Seriously.
I try to groom.
Gold
my-
star on that.
Thank you very much. I do try to shower as much as frequently as I can. Well, not as frequently as I can. That was like Hank Kimball from my Green.
Yeah,
well, not
at least once a week.
My name's Kimball Hank. Well, not Kimball Hank. It's Hank Kimball, Mr. Douglas. Well, not Hank Kimball, Mr. Kimball. I hate voice actors that do that, by the way. Anyway, so then I started hand modeling for Mattel Toys because I was older and I could play the kids.
Oh,
close-up
that's
on the
cool, man.
hands.
Hand.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember the very first one I did was something called Kent and his Cosmic Cruiser. It was kind of like cashing in on the Star Wars movement. It
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
knockoff toys. And so then from there, I went into musical theater. And my very first equity production was when I was 13 years old. It was with Dick Shawn, Stubby Kaye, Shaney Wallace, directed by Anna White, and it was Oliver. And it was, you know,
Nice.
and Shaney Wallace had played Nancy in the 1968 movie. And I'm like a musical fanatic. Anyone who knows me knows that I love musicals, and
Yeah.
that's my dream. So I just kept on doing that through my teen years, and in my teen years I did a film called Summer School with Mark Harmon. Well, I lied. I wasn't a teenager. I was doing teen films.
Yeah.
I was a young adult. And I did this movie Summer School. I did another one called How I Got Into College with Savage Steve Holland and a bunch of different films. Interestingly enough, Tom Kenny was in How I Got Into College, and we didn't know each other, and we didn't even know we were in the movie together because none of our scenes were together. And then around 1988, there was a Writers Guild strike, and I had a lot of bills to pay and not working on camera. And someone said, "Hey, why don't you get into voiceover?" I'm like, "What's voiceover?"
Yeah.
So people always ask me on panels at conventions.
That's when a lot of the actors
Yeah.
started getting into
They
voiceover.
said, "Who were your idols?" When I would love to say, "Oh, well, I was a huge Mel Blanc fan. But I never associated a voiceover actor with it. It was just the cartoon.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, you thought it was the
But
actual
you
little-
emulated people like Don Adams.
Don
and Flip
Adams
Wilson,
and oh my gosh, those are my
Yeah.
two of my, I idolize those guys. And Bruce Springsteen. Those are my three
Yeah.
top people.
Yeah.
It's Don Adams and Flip Wilson, like you said, because I used to imitate Flip Wilson. I was like, "Here come the judge. Look out, killer. I'm Geraldine." You know, and my dad would have a fit. He would go, "Stop it. Stop it. I'm going to bed." He would say to my mom, "I'm going to bed." Because I would put on my mom's muumuu.
Oh, that's funny.
And I would have like slippers, you know, those floppy
Yeah,
slippers.
yeah.
And they'd be like, "There, look out, kiddo." And I do Geraldine and all these things. And I just knew. I was lucky enough at 5 years old to know that this is what I was going to
Yeah.
do. And I never looked back.
That's
what I
so
was gonna do.
cool, man.
So I shared an office. I had a commercial agent who shared an office with Sandy Schnarr.
Ah.
Yeah.
And I went over to Sandy and I said, "I'd like to get into voiceover. What do I do?" And she says, "Well, you got to get a demo reel." That's how long ago it
Yeah.
was, a reel.
Yes.
Yeah, demo reel. An
Demo
actual
reel.
Demo reel.
Yes.
A real reel. Yeah.
And I made this demo reel, and I gave it to her. And like my first month there, I booked. This is how naive I was, by the way, about voiceover. This is really how naive I was. At the time, the fee was $175 per spot for a 13-week run.
Wow.
Per cycle, right? So
Yeah.
175. So I sat there going, "Wow, if I do 5 or 6 of these a day, 5 days a week, I'll be making my usual nut. I'll be fine." That's how I thought it was. I thought, "Oh, they just gave you these jobs. Yeah, I'll do this,
Yeah.
you know?"
Yeah, I'm free tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm free 5. Yeah, okay, so I'm just
Yeah.
gonna. So I did 3 commercials that first
Wow.
month I was with them. One was for Chevy, one was an ice cream thing, and but there was like these 2-line things like "Bye, Dad." It was like a kid voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I thought, "This is easy." I didn't work the rest of the year in
gosh.
voiceover. So as time went on, I went on and I got into animation. And my very first animated job was a show called The Adventures of Prince Valiant. It was with Robbie Benson and Rob Paulson and Charlie
Oh, yeah,
Adler. And
man.
it's like, it was like the...
That was your first?
That was my first
That's
gig.
an
So you
amazing
got
room.
I was
exposed.
one job, a guest spot.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, you know, and I'd been doing this since
Do you
I was
remember
10.
your line? What
Yes,
your
and
lines
this is
are?
because it was.
He remembers everything.
You could see the trauma in my eyes.
Yeah, it's like, ah.
Lay back, Richard. Sorry, we're gonna get this memory. We're gonna cleanse.
Namaste. Okay, so there was a director, who I won't name, but he was notorious for being kind of hard on
Talent.
And I had one line. I was like a ship's mate, and all I said was like, "Captain, the decks have all been swabbed." You know, something to that effect. And I did the line, and everyone in the room busts up. Rob Paulson and Robbie Benson, everyone like, "Oh my, yeah, I'm good at this, right?" And the guy comes over, the director comes over the talkback, and he says, "I didn't realize we hired Woody Allen to play a ship's mate." And I was like, crushed, right? But I said, okay, this is what you have to know about me. It's like, all right, that's how we're going to play this game. We'll see who wins. And so I focused solely on animation, and then within a year, I had the Angry Beavers, which I did for 105 episodes.
Yeah,
And
man.
you now know that you can do doubles for Woody Allen.
Yeah, it's like, because nobody does Woody Allen. It's never, it's apparently.
But don't you think coming up through theater and
Yes.
'cause that gives you chops? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's a different animal, and you have to have a thick skin.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So you had been doing that since you were
Yeah,
a
since
kid,
I was
so-
10. And so I spend my days teaching people, adults that come to me that have forgotten how to play. In fact, what I teach is play dates. And that's
Right.
what I call them, play dates, because I had a mentor that taught me the way I work. Her name was Diana Castle. And I love her dearly, and she really changed my perspective on how I approach my work.
Yeah.
Before, I was always really product-oriented. And then she kind of helped me to realize that I'm okay where I am, doing what I'm doing, in the work that I'm doing right now. You know, when you live in LA, it's so competitive that you're constantly trying to climb that hill.
Yeah.
But to keep going on your teaching,
Yeah.
you talk about your style of teaching is focusing, I'm going to say, the art of playing pretend.
Pretend, yes.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, I'll
Can
give you a
explain
perfect
that
example.
Yeah, give us
I'll
an
give you a perfect
example.
example, and this is in a nutshell. And this is something I picked up from my mentor, which is this.
If you wanted to get even to a little detail about it.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Did you
Yeah, don't
play?
be stash.
Did you play? Yes,
Yeah, don't be
I'm gonna-
stash with the teaching here on Viobos Weekly.
But I have to put on my teaching hat. Oh, I forgot my pipe. I need-
How
I'll
about
pretend
an
I have
apple?
a pipe. I'll
An
pretend I have a
apple?
pipe. No, it's all right. Okay. Now, let me ask you something. When you were kids, you played make-believe games, true or false?
True. I still do.
Give me an example of what you played as a kid.
all of my stuffed animals, my sisters and I, they had names,
sisters
they
and-
had
good.
voices,
And
we had
did-
whole storylines.
Did you ever play like House or Star Wars or anything like that?
I played Cowboys and Indians.
Cowboys and Indians, okay.
Yeah.
So give me an example of something you would have said as a cowboy and Indian.
Well, I always liked being Indians because they had the long hair.
Yeah, so you would say.
Right? So, and I didn't. I was only a little
Typecasting.
kid. I was like
Typecast, yeah.
7, yeah. So, but they had long hair, so I would tie, a bandana around my head,
Yeah.
and I would take some of my mom's lipstick, and I would put like lines on my
Right.
face. She didn't
Yeah.
know this, by the way.
Yeah.
Oops.
Sorry, Mom.
She does now.
If it was my dad, he would have gone like this.
Yeah,
I'm
and
going
then,
to bed,
and then I
Claire.
would wear,
Yeah.
I would put on my underwear
Yeah.
and put these like little towels on
Yeah.
the front like that on the back, just like they did.
Awesome.
And
Very
then I would go,
authentic,
oh, me tanto, me come to get you now.
Good. Me tonto, me come to get you now, right? So you'd play that.
Sounded
You
like
play with
Schwarzenegger,
your
though.
yeah,
Whatever, something like that.
Was it with your friends, a relative, brother? Who did you play with?
I played with myself, but not. I played, yeah, just
I'll
by
let that one
myself.
go. Too easy. But you guys have to help me out with this story. Did anyone play with friends that you played with your sisters?
My sisters, I have 4
She
sisters.
has 4
and we all
sisters.
played,
So
yes.
give me an example of something you said when you played with them.
Tip, are we going to have tea now?
Good. So at the end of that play pretend time, oh, that was very good.
I was playing the little
Stacy
Tip.
had
Yes.
playmates, I had nothing.
Yes, yes. So at the end of that play pretend time, your mom would say, "Okay, girls, clean up. It's time for dinner. Put away the stuffed animals. Blah blah blah." At the end of that play pretend time, did you ever say to your sisters, "Wait a minute, before you go, let me ask you something"? When I said, "Tipper, are we going to have tea now?" Did you believe me, or should I have gone, "Tipper, we're going to have tea now," or should we have gone, "Tipper, we're going to have tea now"?
No, I cannot recall that.
You didn't.
No, it was.
And you played.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were
It
in
was
that
believable,
world. You were in
yes.
that world. If you watch kids playing, kids don't sound like Darth Vader, but they sure think they are when they're playing.
Yeah, they do.
They go, "Luke, I am your father," and they play. And the other kids, if you told the kid, "Okay, this rock is going to be a birthday cake," they would say, "What flavor? How many candles?" We lose that as we get older.
Yeah.
We lose that art of playing pretend because of peer pressure, adolescence. What happened is at some point you got caught playing pretend, and we went usually one of two ways. We either went, our parents or mom or dad said, "Hey, Stacy, do that thing where you're playing with the stuffed animals." And we either went, "Ta-da, they like me, I'm getting attention." That becomes, we call those extroverts. Or we went, "Tipper, are we going to have tea? I don't want to do this. Don't make me do this," right? And that just becomes magnified as we get older because of what I said, peer pressure, adolescence, all these things that that stopped us from playing pretend. And that's what we do. We
Yeah.
play pretend. That's our job. And that is our job, and that's what I teach. Our job is to play pretend and play pretend fully. Yet we spend 98% of the time doing the demos, tracking down the opportunities, auditioning for the agents, trying to get the agents, getting the work, trying to book the work, and then we take 2% to actually do what it is we say we do. And that's when people come to me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, it's what I said I do. Now how do I do it?" And I said, "Well, if you practice entering secondary realities daily, it doesn't matter. You'll be ready for that moment."
Yeah.
But I always get people coming through my door that say, "Oh, I have a general for Disney. I don't know. I don't know." I said, whoa, slow down. You're fine. You know how to play pretend.
Right.
And that is, this is my favorite thing, especially in commercial. People, you get the same breakdown all the time. Looking for real, natural, conversational. So someone will come into my office and say, "How do I do real, natural, conversational?" And I said, "Well, when you asked me that, did you think, how am I going to make this sound real, natural, conversational?" "No, I didn't." I said, "So in order to be conversational, you have to have someone to have a conversation with.
Yeah.
And that's as easy as it gets.
Yeah.
The only reason, and another one you always say to someone is, if I say to someone, okay, Chuck, you're auditioning for the part of the announcer, what's the announcer's name?
Barry.
It's Chuck.
I like Barry.
All right, Barry the Indian.
Barry here,
it's because
and I've got some news
It's
for you
because we were
tonight.
singing Barry Manilow songs earlier, so he's got Barry on the brain.
I remember all my life.
Oh yeah, baby. Barry
Raining down as cold as ice.
Get down.
Shadows of a man, a face through a window, crying in the night. The night goes into morning's just another day.
Richard and I will be peering in Vegas
Happy
this week.
people pass my way.
Dude, I could
gentlemen,
do this all
I could
night.
too.
This is Barry, and we have Mr. Richard
Barry and
Horvitz
Tip.
with the
Doing
vocals here. You are crazy, man.
I am crazy.
Let's-
Anyone that knows me well knows that I am crazy, and admittedly so.
Did we finish that little?
Yes.
Oh,
about-
Mandy, well, you came and you gave without taking, but I sent you away, oh, Mandy.
Richard.
I like when it grows like goes up half
yes.
a key.
Sorry.
Oh, Mandy.
Oh gosh,
his feathered back
modulations and
hair
everything.
is-
Okay.
Okay,
And
Richard.
hi, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today? We're back.
There's a point
Richard, I want to sing
in a
karaoke with
western
you.
town when it's...
Richard.
yeah, in a
So,
western-
so hey, speaking of, because what you were saying was so great, I'm sure there's people out there going like, hey, if I want to study with Richard Horvitz, how do I do it? How do they get in touch with you?
Really easy. I have a very simple Gmail account that's my class account, and it's Richard Horvitz Classes. RICHARDHORVITZ classes, plural, CLASSES @gmail.com.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, and I right now I teach like about 3 or 4 6-week courses a year.
Okay.
and
Awesome.
it's a 6-week workshop.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Very cool. There
And
you
does
go.
somebody, because we have viewers all over the world, does someone have to be present, or do you do it by Skype at all?
When I coach privately, and I coach in classes. So if you, the classes email that I just said is if you want to take the workshop and
Right.
you're here in town. If you want to coach with me privately, I also coach via Skype.
Awesome.
I coach privately in my office, in my home studio.
Yeah.
Great.
But Skype, yeah, I've got several students, quite a few these days in England, which is a lot of fun.
Awesome. Okay, good. Yeah, because we're, people are like,
Yeah,
we want to get in
absolutely,
on it
man.
if they're not in LA. So
Get in on the
it's like-
fun.
Yeah,
Right?
get in on the fun, baby.
You
Learn some
too
stuff.
can
Learn how to be
sing
real.
Barry
and-
Manilow
And if
Air
Mandy,
Supply.
you're out there,
Yeah.
oh, Mandy. Call us, Mandy. It's only
Mandy,
been 45
give us a call.
years.
867-5309. That's our
It's
number.
always 555-1212.
Richard, besides beautiful song tips
And being pretty.
and being stunningly gorgeous,
This is my imitation of Lee Majors and everything he ever did.
That's actually really
So,
good.
right?
It's
It's like,
good.
Yeah.
Audrey,
The eyebrow.
Nick, Oscar. I'm a stunt man. It's all in the eyebrow.
It's a stunt brow.
It's a stunt brow.
Totally.
Genius.
So good.
Mandy.
There's
Yes.
got to be
So
something in the
good.
union.
Stunt brow.
What were you
Do
asking
you
our friend?
have any, besides all these amazing tips,
Yeah.
do you have any tips or advice for someone getting started in the business to get them on the right track?
Yes, and you know I'm asked this often, and I wholeheartedly believe that the first place you start, if you've never done anything in voiceover, is you start with improv classes, acting classes, sketch comedy. I still do sketch comedy. I perform with Fred Willard once a
Yeah.
month at Second City.
Yeah.
I mean, where you have a sketch group, which is a lot of fun. Joanne Worley. Woo, boring. Oh man. And I suggest sketch group, acting, anything where you get to enter secondary realities.
Yeah.
The more easily you learn to enter secondary realities and play pretend, the easier it is when I hand you a story, which is what I call scripts,
Right.
a story, for you to enter into that world. Because that's what we're asked to do. We're asked to enter these worlds. Well, in improv, you have to enter a world like that.
Yeah,
So
instantly. Yeah.
that's my first,
Okay.
piece of advice. The second piece of advice is once you've done that, then, you know, as people who produce demos, you know that a lot of times people want to like rush to produce a demo.
Yeah.
That's the last thing that you want to do is rush to produce a demo, as you'll agree. And I know you and I know me that you don't just make demos for someone you've never met. They've got to meet with you. You've got to know
Absolutely.
them. You've got to work together before you go into the studio. Because the studio, if you've done your work before you get into that studio, you're done in an hour, hour and a half.
Absolutely.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, anyone. I always caution people that that want to make a demo with someone that tells you they can do them for $99 and they've never met
Oh,
you.
don't even
God.
start him on
Don't
that.
even
It
get me
drives
on
me
that,
nuts.
man.
The
Drives me
guy with the
nuts.
sign on the
Yeah.
street, he
Yeah.
goes anaphylactic when
I'm
he
with
sees,
you.
know,
I'm with you.
demos in my closet for $2.99. He
Yeah.
just has to
I always
pull
tell
over.
people, listen,
'Cause
you
it's
can paint
just-
your own car,
That's right.
but it's going to look pretty
I
crappy.
mean, you can start that, but you're going to
Yeah.
be paying 2 or 3 times more because you're going to do one like that, and then you're going to have to do it right.
Yeah.
So why not wait until you're ready to do it right and have it
Exactly.
be something that is marketplace ready?
Absolutely. And you know, as I was told when I first got in this business, you are your own business. So if you were to start up a business, you would need capital. Well, the money you spend on a good demo and good training in voiceover is your business. It's a business investment. You have to have startup capital. That's how you do it. It'll pay for itself over time. It used to pay for itself a lot quicker because demos weren't as hard to make. But, you know, back then they weren't as hard to make. Now they're a lot more production value than the demos we used to do.
Yeah,
way back
there's
when.
just there's more involved. There's
More
technology.
involved. Technology.
Yeah.
I know you had Nancy Wolfson on here, and she's
Yes.
one of my favorite
She loves
teachers
you.
and coaches, and does great branding and demo producing. So I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of Nancy's too. But yeah, there's a lot of us out there. I also recommend if you're going to do a demo, you're going to take classes, take it with someone who's in the business. Do it with somebody who actually has cast, has produced, has been an agent, actually is a voiceover person. That's the people you want to be around. And the last piece of advice, and I know this sounds like different from anything we've just said, is that I believe that to be at the party, you have to be where the action is.
Yeah.
I like to go to places where people are expressing all the time. I go to theater, I go to improv shows, I go to sketch, I go to see concerts, I see bands like your amazing band with
Rock Sugar.
Rock Sugar,
Get
baby!
down, baby!
Woo! Oh, Mandy!
I knew that was coming.
You've got to match that with something, or
Too easy.
Richard's going to lose
Yeah,
his
you got to
mind.
give me another song.
I
'cause
think
now
an
it's
Air
stuck in my
Supply
head.
Barry Manilow mashup could be a power ballad. Just saying,
We didn't
consider it.
even get into REO Speedway.
Maybe we could do.
Let's
oh.
not go
I believe
there.
it's time for me
Me
to
to
fly. Time for me to fly.
Richard, we should be the backup on.
Yeah, Rock Sugar.
okay.
That's your next. That's the next. I want to
Okay,
be in
good.
one of those cool,
Oh,
one of those
boy.
cool videos.
Yeah, one of those cool videos.
Wow! I can do that.
Good story, man.
Yes.
I can't match Jess on
No,
Jesus
you
Christ
can't.
Superstar though.
No.
But I do know my
Oh,
part.
no.
I would play Judas.
He was playing
Yeah.
Judas.
You would.
My mind is clearer now. At last, all too well, I can see.
This seems like an obvious
where
question,
we
Richard.
are. Yes.
What do you
Soon
feel
will
your
be.
strengths are as a voice actor?
A willingness to play pretend and have fun.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
teach 5 steps. My steps are, and these are the steps I teach. I am the person in the story. It is happening to me right now. I am the alien. I am the beaver. I am the little boy. I'm the father. I'm the son. It is me. It's not him, they.
Right.
It's me. It's happening right now. Second is willingness to play pretend, enter a secondary reality. If you're judging it, we know it. If you're thinking it, we know it. I'm having a willingness to play pretend. People do that all the time. Oh, this is crap. The writing's horrible. But I'll try it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
Step 3, have fun. Step 4, what do I want? In every story, we want something. It's not motivation. We say our want usually. Step 5, be specific. Who, where, what, when, how. That's what I teach. And each one of those
Fantastic.
steps is very involved. That's just like a broad.
Yeah.
Right.
bleh.
Right.
Yeah.
But you too can learn to go. Bleh. And that's I don't even know why I brought that up. Oh
No.
Yeah.
because-
What are my
your
strengths? My
as a voice
strengths are-
actor?
yeah, so-
Besides in being song cue man. It's a new superpower.
my strengths are I'm fearless. I think that's I'm
Yeah, and I
fearless.
get that totally.
Absolutely.
I didn't make this statement up, but I love it, and it's my wife always says it to me. Other people's opinions are none of my business. So what other people think of
Love
me is none of my business.
Yeah.
This is who I am. This is how I play. I'm sure that people that love me, people that hate me, I'm not right for some things. I'm right for other things. But I do know what I bring to the table, and I think knowing your voice, voice more than just voiceover. I think that's another mistake we make in voiceover. I think it's a misnomer to call it voiceover. It should be called speak over, because what happens in voiceover is an actor will get their sides, the story, and the first thing they'll think is, what voice am I going to do? So your whole thing becomes about doing the voice. Well, that should be, those of us that do is we put the voice on last. We do the story first. We break down our story. We know why we say what we say. Then we're informed, and it allows us to play. I
Right.
made that up.
When you get your story sometimes you have the character, an actual picture.
Yeah.
Can you take us through the process of how you decide, how am I going to bring this to life?
Yes, yes. And this is very easy because, what I do is I take my story, which I call my dossier because you get all this information. And the first thing I do is I look at the picture, if they have a picture. But I don't read the breakdown yet. I don't read the breakdown
What they
yet.
say they think
what
they want.
What they say they want. Because here's what happens. The minute you read that breakdown, you are looking through it through the eyes of what you think they're looking for.
Yeah.
More on that in a moment because I'll ask you a question. Don't let me forget about asking the question about the breakdowns. So what I do is I read the story. I read it multiple times. I read it through. And I read everything. I read the stage directions. Most importantly, I read what other people are saying. A lot of times actors just immediately start doing their performance while they're reading it.
Yeah.
While they're reading it.
Yeah.
And what you do is you miss your story. You miss what's going on. You miss things. So once I do that, I ask myself, who am I talking to? So I look at all the other people. And I ask myself, what do I want in this story? What is it that I want? And it's something specific. I want the lunchbox, I want the bike, I want the girl, I want the phone number. I want something specific. And it's very rarely an idea. It's very rarely an idea. I want respect. Well, if your want is I want respect, I would say to you, okay, well that can be whittled down to specificity, which is respect from whom? Well, I want respect from Stacy, or I want respect from Chuck. Why do I want? Who, what, where, when, what? Why? Well, because they're mean to me. Or because I like them. It depends, whatever the story is.
Because it makes me feel good.
Because it makes me feel good. Okay. Well, yeah, but making feel, there's usually a specific reason. It's because, in like animation, it's because you're either being bullied or you like the girl.
Because
or you
I'm
like
sick
the
and
guy.
tired of it.
Right. So it's like I
sometimes
want you is what the want becomes.
Right. But sometimes you have to just make that up for yourself because you only get a couple pages.
Well,
and you don't necessarily know.
I will maintain that you can find
there.
the answers in there, and that's the game I play.
Yeah.
And it would amaze you if I could get you behind a mic. I would show you that it's in there, that there's no backstory, because what I do is I get people to remember how they react as a human being, not as an actor. We're really well-trained actors in that. And we can always pull our toolbox out if something's not happening. But when we feel boring or we don't know why we say something, we act like we do. I try to get people to stop acting and just play.
Yeah.
So
well, that's the best kind of acting.
Because that's the best kind of acting.
Yeah.
So if we don't know why we say something, it's usually somewhere. It's usually, that's what I'm saying. You have to know what the other people are saying. Then I read the breakdown. And I go, oh, okay, I have an accent. I'm British. Any of us, that do this, as you know, many times we'll be hired on a job and we don't even know what voice we're doing. And they'll say, well, make him older, make him younger, and make him more Jewish, make him more Latino, Latin, make him, this, Southern, whatever. Make it more, for me, it's always make it more goblin-y, because I do a lot of those kind of things, So that happens last. But now I'll talk about the breakdown and why the breakdown is really important. Here's why.
Well, that's all the time we have today with Richard, but we'll be back next week for part 2. Tune in.
Absolutely. In the meantime, keep up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at VO Buzz Weekly. We'll see you guys. Take care, and just remember, you always have time for a little buzz.